what do people get wrong in their morning routine?
So it is very important to understand that our day actually begins at the night. So let's just say if we have slept on time and we have had a restful sleep, only then can we expect our morning to be right.
One routine that you would say is extremely beneficial to maintaining your health, your sleep, your mood, your mind, everything. What would you say if it is one? Hi everyone, welcome back to Take 20. Today we are going to discuss my favorite, actually, this is a good morning routine. And why should one have like a good morning routine, AIkesh?
Yeah, so since we have been growing up, we have been told the importance of waking up on time, doing specific things on time. But why should we really need to do them? What's really the value in that? So before we dive into that, it is very important for us to understand the concept of circadian rhythm. So circadian rhythm are basically the inherent biological clocks that our body has. There are multiple clocks, but the one that we are specifically concerned about is the 24-hour clock that we have. And that clock is governed by how the light around us gets manipulated. So let us go back in time, when the electricity was not there, where the indoor lighting was not as freely available as it is right now. Our only major source of light was the sun. And based on how the sun rises and how the sun sets, our daily biological cycle gets manipulated. So how does a daily biological cycle works is that when we are asleep and you want to wake up, there is a spike in the cortisol levels that we have.
Okay. When
Yeah.
you do for the blood report, they always tend to check the cortisol in the morning.
Yeah.
As soon as you wake up.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the cortisol spike is the body's cue that it's morning and we have to wake up
Okay.
right now. Especially if somebody is having sleep disturbances, we check if their cortisol pattern are correct or not. So if their cortisol pattern are not in check, that means their sleep cycle is not right, because cortisol has a pattern throughout the day. It spikes up in the morning and goes down at night.
Right.
And how cortisol is responsible for the way we wake up in the morning, the melatonin spike at night is responsible for the way we sleep. So that's why people who have sleeping issues are generally recommended to have melatonin.
Right.
But if their sleep was okay and their biological clock was right, body would have produced good enough melatonin for them to have a restful sleep.
Right.
Similarly, the way to mimic, or the way people mimic the cortisol spike in the morning is to have coffee, because when we have coffee, that spikes the cortisol level that we have.
Right.
That's why many people in the morning, when they wake up, they feel groggy, and until they have their morning cup of coffee, they don't get that wakefulness. So there is this 24-hour clock that our body operates on, and if the clock is operating right, it has a cascading effect throughout the day. If it is not going right, it has a cascading effect throughout the day in a way that all the other timing of hormone releases are affected because of it.
So the cortisol release in the morning can dictate all other hormonal balances or imbalances, you're saying.
Yeah, and also the melatonin release.
And the melatonin release at night.
Yeah.
So which is why a morning routine is really important.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
What do people get wrong in their morning routine?
So it is very important to understand that our day actually begins at the night. So let's just say if we have slept on time and we have had a restful sleep, only then can we expect our morning to be right.
Correct. Okay.
And nowadays there is this very popular jargon that's going across in the market. It's called as revenge sleep procrastination.
Revenge sleep procrastination.
So what that means
Procrastination.
So what would that mean is we are so occupied throughout the day.
Right.
We are busy with our lives and everything. We do not get time for ourselves. And there is an inherent need to feel centered and, want the time for ourselves, that at night, we know that we should be sleeping. It's time to sleep. We could be sleepy as well. But we still are on the phone, procrastinating the sleep that we need to take because we hadn't had that time for our own selves. And it is very common for everyone in day-to-day life to sleep themselves to the phone.
Through the phone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And since we have now discussed that the light around us manipulates how our biological clock is going to work, exposing ourselves to cell phone at night,
The blue light.
the blue light, is setting ourselves for failure because that is inhibiting the melatonin production that we have.
Right.
Yeah.
So I know most people know about this. I know that. But we still are addicted to our phones, knowing that we all know in some way. We might not know the scientific jargon, but we know that this is disturbing our sleep. But it's depressing, but it's addictive. So even though you know that this is happening, why is it happening? Why is it that we can't put away our phones? What is this new habit that is really not doing anybody any good? Because I was on my broadcast the other day and I noticed that there were so many messages that said, I'm addicted to my phone, it's making me anxious. I'm addicted to my phone, I'm depressed. So why aren't we able to stop?
Yeah, so the way all the social media apps and everything on a phone is researched and designed is such a way that it's going to give us a sense of instant gratification. So when we have that feeling, we have a surge in something called as the dopamine hormone that we have. And dopamine is a hormone of motivation. It has other functions as well, but that's primarily the hormone of motivation that we have. And how our body deals with hormones is that if there is a spike, and this is true for the insulin and sugar as well, if there is a spike, the crash is equally fast and bad. So let's just say if we have a spike in our sugar, goes up, we get the surge of energy then, but the crash is equally bad and equally fast. The same goes for dopamine as well. When we have that instant gratification, we get that surge and the crash is equally fast.
Okay.
And when the crash is equally fast, we do not have motivation and we are searching for that next dopamine hit. And that again, we are going to get through the phone. So it's a constant cycle of dopamine surge and drop, surge and drop. That's one thing. And second thing is we want to make ourselves feel good. We did not have the time throughout the day. The easiest way to do that is to get an easy dopamine hit. And that's what the phone does. And it's really convenient. We always have it in the pocket and it's right there.
I know that my morning routine has helped me significantly. So if you could suggest one routine that you would say is extremely beneficial to, to maintaining your health, your sleep, your mood, your mind, everything, what would you say if it is one? I can't decide which one because I do quite a bit. What would you say?
But the best thing for that to do would be to get exposure to early morning sunlight, because the early morning sunlight has frequencies that allow us to understand that it's morning time and it's time to get that cortisol spike and get the biological clock in order, and that's just a byproduct of the evolution that we have had throughout the years. As much as it is important to have exposure to light in the morning, it is equally important to limit the exposure to blue light
in the evening.
And for that, there are many things that one can do. We can just dim the light after the sunset. There are many smart bulbs in the market which automatically do that for you. We can activate the blue light filters on our phone at the night. We can absolutely limit our phone usage at night. There is something called as blue light blocking glasses, which you have been using for quite some time. We can use those. Now, what blue light blocking glasses does is that when the light passes through lens, it does not allow the blue light frequency to pass through that. So what we get is minus the blue light, which allows us to minimize the exposure to light and give us a cue that it's night time and it's time to wind down.
What about people who are in IT? They work through the night. They work on their laptops. I don't think that they can get the morning light, or they can restrict usage of electronics at night. and I know that a lot of them suffer from sleep issues.
Yeah.
And it's clear now why they suffer with sleep issues. So how would it be helpful? What can you say that could help them fix these issues if they have no choice?
Yeah, so they can do secondary things, which gives our body the cue, that this is that time of the day and this is not that time of the day. So, for example, we can limit all our stimulant intake, like caffeine and everything, in the first half of the day, so that it helps the body to wind down in the second half of the day. Also, before we go to bed, we can do things that calm our mind down. We can do certain mindfulness exercises. We can meditate and calm our mind down, which will give our body the cue that again it's the time to wind down. And if you absolutely can't limit the exposure to screens at night, most of the devices nowadays come with a blue light blocking filter inherent to them. If not, we can always wear the blue light blocking glasses to give our body cue that no blue light is coming in right now, so it's time to wind down at this point in time. And also not to eat a lot in the second half of the day. Most of the eating, if it's done in the first half of the day, and if you do not eat in the second half of the day.
But won't you be hungry and wake up or not be able to sleep?
But if we take our calorific requirement in the first half of the day, and by first half I mean till 7, 8 p.m., because eating around midnight-ish,
yeah.
or just eating and going to bed, eating a heavy meal and going to bed, that's definitely not going to help. And also limiting the snacking that we do, because if we keep on snacking for longer duration of time, our gut doesn't get the time to get into a rest and digest and start the digestive process with it. And giving the cue of the body to rest and digest is another way to getting into a healthy sleep pattern.
Okay.
Yeah. So now that we have an understanding of what circadian rhythm is, what body's biological clock is, we have been doing things that will help you get your biological clock in check.
Yeah.
And that is actually very important to get all the other bodily processes in check. So let's just glance upon what do you do on a regular basis. What's your morning routine like?
Okay, so my morning routine is a lot. It's a lot. And I think that most people might find it overwhelming and quite impractical to follow. So I must say that I didn't get here in a day or even a month. It took me 1 year to get to these practices, to slowly keep adding practices according to my needs. So there's no pressure for you to just pick up all of these practices. In fact, just whatever your schedule will allow, pick up one practice and, keep at it. Keep at it, I would say. These things, they don't give you benefits in a day or in a week, but eventually they are life-changing. They are more powerful than most medicines, actually.
Yeah.
So that being said, again, no pressure, guys. But
I know that's a really nice disclaimer to have, because knowing all these things can have an information overload and can be overwhelming as well.
Right.
And can in fact act negatively, that it's too much to do. I don't want to start at the first place. So
Yeah, trust me, I started with just one practice. And even that, I failed many times. Like I started and stopped and started and stopped and started and stopped. So it's not something that I was instantly good at. So now, my morning routine is I wake up at 5:30.
Okay.
And as soon as I wake up, I mentioned before, I start a journal. Like I start, but it's still on an app instead of being pen and paper. Tell me why it should be pen and paper, because I know that this is something that I must change, that I must start to journal, writing it down instead of using an app for it digitally. Why would you say that pen and paper is better?
So when we always use a phone, there is a mental pattern that has been formed. And whenever we use a phone, you will see that whenever you're checking a message and anything, by default you end up reaching the reels, and before you know it's already 20 minutes
Okay, you're saying like that. Okay.
into scrolling the reels. And also, if you have an option of early morning sun exposure, that will be a much better exposure to light, because the frequencies are aligned as per that.
Oh, so the
And
light of the phone.
digital light might not be the best thing.
Okay, I'll try.
Yeah.
So as soon as I wake up, I write a gratitude journal. So it just sets up my day. It sets up, I set myself up to have a good day.
Yeah.
Let's say that. So I write that, and then just 5 minutes of sun soak. I do a breathing exercise. What I follow is the Wim Hof method.
Oh.
I really, really like that. Followed by meditation, like 25 minutes of meditation. I have been doing Isha Kriya for a while now, and it has been transforming. It has helped me tremendously.
Yeah.
So that's a kind of meditation I really enjoy. And I've recently, over the last couple of months, started tapping.
Okay.
Okay, so tapping is a process that helps you balance your energy and also helps relieve pain.
Okay.
So, yeah, that's my morning routine, which is a bit hectic, I know, but there has been so many changes after this morning routine, and I feel like I have more consistent energy through the day. My mood is stable, and just an overall enhanced sense of well-being. So yeah, journaling, sun soak, Wim Hof, meditation, tapping. That's a lot, 5, but you can start with 1 or 2 and you will see great changes. You will find it hard initially, but just keep at it. And apart from the morning practices, I also have a few evening practices, which is, like you said, cutting out blue light, keeping my phone away 30 minutes before I sleep, which is really important. And I also have a time limit on my Instagram.
Oh, nice.
Yes, I do have a time limit. That option is available to everyone. So I think that, either people go to one extreme of deleting the app and then always thinking, what's going on there? What's going on there? And or like excess. But I think the time limit is like, it's a nice healthy check on how much you're using the app. So I think like the phone is not always a bad thing. It also provides you with these opportunities to fix a time limit on your phone. It's not all bad, right? So there are these options that are available. So I do have a time limit on my Instagram. And so winding down is for me as important, I think.
Yeah, so I felt it like a personal attack when you said, going all out on Instagram, then deleting it. Yeah, I'm guilty of that. So I delete my Instagram every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, no, it's a professional requirement. I'm giving myself excuses.
Yeah.
Then installing it back again. And before I know, it's just the same cycle repeats.
Yeah.
All over again. So I should definitely try the time limit thing out.
Yeah, because I think that when you push away a thought, right? It when you start pushing away a thought, it really, how do I say it? It becomes bigger than what it is. But if you just process that thought, and if you allow it, and if you just like say, okay, let me feel this, it passes away. When we give it, when we try to push out something, any kind of negative emotion, we tend to give it more importance by trying to forcefully push away that thought. But so I think that that's what I realized, and that's when I put the time limit on Instagram and realized that, okay, this is doable. Yeah.
Another very important thing that you mentioned about was journaling that you do in the morning, because throughout the day we do not get the time and opportunity to self-reflect and introspect our thoughts. And if we do that first thing in the morning, it helps us to be more centered.
Right.
Mentally, we have a better sense of self-realization, and we have a better sense of acknowledgement, and we carry that throughout the day. And that helps us to not be in a reactive or an autopilot mode throughout the day. So that means you end up leading your day in a more mindful and an intentional sense.
Yeah, and subconsciously, you've already, put out that mood. Like
Yeah,
you put out a good, positive, happy mood, and somehow, I don't know how, it just maintains through the day.
yeah,
I found a big difference because my biggest problem was morning anxiety,
yeah,
and positive journaling in the morning, gratitude journal in the morning has helped me tremendously.
yeah. And also, I feel when we sleep on the bed while scrolling social media, we always have this sort of, we don't have this, that person has it, because everyone wants to put out their best self
Right.
on social media. And when we sleep on that thought, we also wake up with that thought.
Ah, you're
And
so right about that. You're
yeah,
so right about that. You're right, actually, because when I see something that I see something and I was like, I feel a sense of inadequacy, and then I wake up with that exact feeling in the morning.
yeah,
So, yeah, which is not always social media. What people project is not
yeah,
the truth. Again, guys, it's not the truth. People project the best version of themselves on social media. Trust me, I'm on social media, and I always have to resist the urge to do that. I have to resist the urge to only, like, when to post my highs and my accomplishments, and you just have this need, right,
yeah.
for approval, and you need for that
Validation.
like
Yeah,
validation, and I have to resist it sometimes, like when I click a nice picture. There's So what I do of late is when I click a nice picture and I want to post it, I actually don't post it immediately.
okay.
It's like almost a lesson to myself about instant gratification. I don't post it immediately. I wait for a few days and
Yeah,
then I post it. And it's
yeah,
just a sense of, okay, let me enjoy that picture. It's okay that I don't need to get it, like I have a million likes for it instantly.
yeah,
Let me resist.
yeah.
Yeah. You think that would help? Like how does that help?
Yeah, I think that will definitely help because you're cherishing it a lot more for yourself now,
Yeah.
and you're not cherishing it for the
Validation.
validation that the external world is giving you for
Right.
that. So I think that should definitely help. And the lack of adequacy that we feel is exactly opposite of what an introspective journaling does, where you self-affirm and set your positive foot forward for the day. That sets you up for the success
Right.
for the entire day. But if you're going to wake up with that thought, I'm not enough,
Yeah.
it's just going to reflect in all the actions that you have from that point on.
I wish you kind of adopt the right practice for you, and I do sincerely wish that it helps you do some research about, some of the practices that we talked about. Do some research for yourself. Pick it up for a few days, see how you feel. I'm sure each one of us has one practice that really resonates with us. Like for some people, it could be a different practice, but just pick up a good morning routine. Don't wake up, rush to your phone, or rush to get out. Wake up a little earlier to do your morning routine. Trust me, in the long run, this is going to give you back much more than you put in. So, all the best with your morning routines.